Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are going to talk about decomposition of fractions today, and then the progression to decomposition of mixed numbers. So we worked on decomposition of fractions yesterday, and we all seem to do pretty well on that. Today was the decomposition of mixed numbers. It was the progression, the growing from just being able to decompose a fraction into parts. And then now it is the decomposition of mixed numbers using the same process. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to understand what is decomposition. So decomposition is the breaking apart of fractions into pieces where the sum of the numerators equals the original fraction. And here's an example. 3/5 is equal to 1/5 plus 2/5. Our denominators stay the same. As you can see, fifths remains across the bottom. And just the our two add-ins of our numerators have to equal the sum of the original fraction, which was 3. So 1 plus 2. We could also do 1 plus 1 plus 1. So it's being able to break that original fraction into pieces where all the pieces, when they add together, they do equal that same fraction. So let's talk about decomposition of just a general fraction first. All right, so here we have our board, and we are going to do 3/5. So I have the original fraction of 3/5. Now, I need to be able to decompose or break apart this fraction into add-ins of a fraction where the sum of them all equal the same thing. So I could do this way. I could do 1/5 plus 2/5 is still equal to 3/5. I decompose that 3/5 into two separate fractions that when they add together, they still equal that total. I could also do 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, because those three together, when added together, still equal the sum of 3/5. Now we are going to progress into, so that was a recap of what we did yesterday. We're going to progress into decomposition of mixed numbers. Now, in order to do that, we need to know what a mixed number is. So a mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction. And an example of that is 1 and 3/5 would be an example. So here I have my mixed number 1 and 3/5. That's my mixed number. And I am going to first build that fraction. Don't mind my mess on the side here, guys. So here I have one whole, and I need to build that or replace that whole with a fraction whole. A fraction whole is just locating the denominator and being able to build that fraction using the same denominator. So here's 1 and 3/5, the way it is written here. Now I need to change this whole into a fraction whole, and I do that by locating the denominator. And so that is a fraction whole. And then I have my 3/5, which is in my original mixed number. So I have 1 and 3/5. That is how I would change this mixed number into a fraction. I would decompose it into two separate fractions. So let's look at the process. That is how we view it. So the first thing that you do when you are decomposing a mixed number is to decompose it into a whole number plus the fraction. So that would be 1 plus 3/5. I've just decomposed that mixed number by showing how I would add the whole to the 3/5. So step 1, I'll use a different color here. Step one is to decompose the mixed number into whole number plus the fraction. So that's the first step, which is what I've done right here. So they're kind of small. So I'm going to decompose the mixed number into a whole number plus a fraction. So this is step one right here. The next step is to determine what is my denominator, determine denominator. D-E-N-O-M-I-N-A-T-O-R, determine denominator. All right, so I'm looking at my mixed number here. I know this is my whole number. Let me go ahead and label that whole number. I know this here. You guys can't see that. Nope. I know this right here is my numerator. And this is my denominator. Oh, my hands are making a mess. So I've determined my denominator, and that is the 5. The next step is to convert my whole number into a fraction whole. Convert or change, convert the whole number into a fraction whole. Fraction whole. And to do that, I know that my denominator has to be the same across the board. So my denominator's here. In order to convert this to a fraction whole, it means my numerator has to be the same as my denominator. So to convert a whole number is to take your denominator and have the numerator on the top to be the same. So 1 whole is equivalent or the same to 5/5. It just depends on what your denominator is. So now 1 whole is equal to 5/5, and then my numerator stays the same. I have now decomposed my mixed number up here of 1 3/5 into 2 separate fractions, 5/5 plus 3/5. And the fourth step is to add your fraction piece. Add fraction piece. So step 1 is to decompose, that's here. Step 2 is to determine the denominator, that's here. Determine the denominator. Step 3 is right here to convert your whole number into a fraction whole. And then step 4 is here where you're going to add your fraction piece from your original mixed number. All right, so let's look at another number here. Let's do 2 3/4. 2 3/4. So my whole number is my 2. My numerator is my 3. And my denominator is my 4. I'm going to go ahead and get that labeled so that I know all my pieces. Now, it said decompose my mixed number into a whole number plus the fraction. So that would be 2 plus 3/4. That's step 1. The next step said to locate my denominator. So I know my denominator is 4, which means my denominator for my decomposition in fractions has to be 4 across. Now I have 2 wholes here. So I need to break this down into 2 fraction wholes. There's 2 of them, so I'm going to make 2 lines. My denominator, and I know my denominator has to be 4 across. I have 2 wholes, so I need 2 whole fractions. A whole fraction means that the numerator and the denominator match. And the last step said to add my fraction piece from my mixed number. So decomposition of 2 3/4 is 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 3/4. Here, let's do 3 1/2. Again, notating my whole number, my numerator, my denominator. The numerator only matters in step 4 when I'm adding my fraction piece back to my fraction wholes that I'm taking. Step 1, break this apart into addition of the whole number plus the fraction. So that is 3 plus 1/2. The next step is to locate my denominator, which I know is 2, which means all of my denominators have to be 2. My whole number is 3. That means I need 3 fraction wholes. So that's going to be a 2 here, a 2 here, and a 2 here. I need 3 of them, 3 fraction wholes, and they're all adding because we're doing decomposition. And then I need a fraction whole, means the number on the top is the same as the number on the bottom. So that's a 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. That takes care of my 3 wholes. And step 4 was to add back my fraction piece from the mixed number. All right, one more practice, and then I will give you one to work on your own. Four 5/7. Whole number, numerator, denominator. Step 1, decompose my mixed number into whole number plus fraction. 4 plus 5/7. The next part says to decompose or to convert my whole number into fraction wholes. There are 4 wholes. That means I need 4 fraction wholes. That helps me remember that. My denominator is 7, so I need to know my denominator has to be 7 in all of my fraction whole pieces. And these are all adding because it's decomposition of a mixed number. Since it's a 7 on the bottom and it's a whole number, it's a 7 on the top. And the last step says to add back in my fraction piece from my mixed number. So decomposition of 4 5/7 is 7/7 plus 7/7 plus 7/7 plus 7/7 plus 5/7. All right, and here is your problem for practice. 2 3/8. Decompose this mixed number into fraction pieces. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this video helps. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.